All right. So now that we went through this timeline, I want to get into a term you hear a lot about in this segment, and it is receivership, right? So, in plain English, receivership is when a court steps in and hands control of a company to a neutral court appointed outsider called a receiver, because the business can't pay its debts and the people involved can't be trusted for some whatever reason to sort it out themselves. So, think about this like a court appointed babysitter. And this is for a company that is in trouble, but more so financial trouble. So nobody in the fight gets to make big decisions anymore. Now the court appointee does. Really important, just to want to make sure that we make that distinction. All right, receivership ultimately is just kind of like a little babysitter. I don't want to say a little babysitter, it's a big deal, but someone to be able to step in and run the business because for whatever reason there has been a lack of trust displayed. So I wanted to check in something that, of course, I've had some experience into in regards of being a board member. So those that know, I've sit on and also sat on some very prestigious boards with a great amount of responsibility. Any board you sit on, you're going to have that responsibility. So I was curious, like, all right, was there a board involved? Because when there are transactions or there are we'll just say certain aspects of the operations that need an extra level of oversight, there's this thing called bylaws that give guidance and really the rules of the company, and allows the board members and the board of directors to be able to provide oversight, insight, and expertise, but also put some guardrails in place to make sure that they don't get themselves in trouble. So let me just read this really quickly. So I wanted to see if there was an independent board of directors, because typically in a number of organizations that I work with and was a part of, to where you need more than one signature to be able to get certain things approved. And that, of course, is very important. So when we think about, this independent board, as of right now, this is what the public record actually shows. So Uncle Nearest Inc. is privately held, majority owned by Grant Signey Incorporated, which is Fawn Weaver's own holding company. I could not find any public record of Uncle Nearest itself having an independent board with outside members or bylaws, or even requiring some type of, we'll just say, dual sign-off process, because usually it's tied to a threshold. Anything over $250,000, we need more than one person to not only look at this, approve this, share the why behind it, what you're doing with this money, and how you're going to be able to pay it back. But again, that dollar amount, it should trigger more than one person checking it out. So this is different from Fawn Weaver's, real board seat at Endeavor Group Holdings, a separate public company alongside people like Elon Musk. That's like a real board seat where you sit with other folks and provide expertise. So this is exactly the kind of structure that makes a story like this possible. Because typically an independent board would set bylaws requiring two signatures above $250K or a certain dollar amount, even as low as $50,000. Or even board approval. Hey, all 19 of us, all 17 of us, all 15, 13, 11 of us, we have to all come to an agreement before we can even bring on this new debt. So that single control could have actually stopped 28 draws on one signature. Because, one thing to have growth is incredible. If you don't have the governance to go alongside of it, that's how a $100 million lending relationship turns into a receivership. And then from a just a comparison, standpoint, wanted to make sure that we point this out, because the story gets twisted, because one looks at the leader of the company in regards of Fawn Weaver being the CEO and the face of the company. But the issue was actually, as I mentioned in the timeline, the CFO, Michael Sinzaki. So he ran 28 separate credit draws from $67 million. $67 million. Get a little FaceTime with that, without the Weaver's knowledge. So the good thing about this for the Weaver's case is that he admitted to it. So he admitted it to the investigators that he falsified reports and used the company's money on a Las Vegas house, cars, and gambling. So the CFO, major risk, created a lot of the tension and the issues that they're dealing with now. But also want to make the distinction in regards of like the receiver's role, right? So the CFO, issuer, he's an issue, an employee of the company historically, found the falsified documents, found the misuse of and the misappropriation of the those dollars, and he's in trouble. He got some problems he's dealing with. Now the receiver, the person that is stepping on behalf of those that ran the day-to-day operations, of course, he is a court appointed individual, but he's not a villain by default, right? His job is literally to act as a neutral fiduciary and protect whatever value is left of the company for everyone in the stake. Because in this outcome, if the value of the company is protected or at least increased, that's good for the Weavers. So the latest filing shows that the Weaver now is fighting on the Weaver side of the fraud narrative, going after the lender for missing those red flags. Because we don't want to forget that this lending company, they allowed this process to go 28 different transactions to happen, 28 different times in which he drew down on a credit. They earned an additional $400,000 in revenue. So when we think about what is the incentive of this particular company and why they would approve these things, knowing that it was just one person drawing down off of these credit requests, they are on the back end are looking at, let's look at how much revenue we are generating based off of these different transactions. And so something that just, let's make sure that we point that out as we rock and roll.